Educator. Hello, everyone. It's Mary and Lynn, and we are here for another episode of Tick Ed. We are ticked again. So, Mary, it's been a couple of weeks since we've recorded one of these, and just so you know, we do these not because we like to call attention to ourselves and always be, in the spotlight, but it's the only way for us to communicate everything that's going on. We've been going to Austin pretty much every week. We've taken this week off because of various reasons, and we may be going down there tomorrow. But what we've been doing is we've been promoting some bills and fighting some bills, mostly fighting bills. But Mary, why don't you start us out?
Well, and I would just say we really haven't taken the week off. Working the phone.
You're not in Austin. But
yeah, I mean, we're just not in Austin. Working the phones, calling people, getting other people to call people. That's a really, in many ways, that's harder than being in the Capitol and testifying and going to offices and meeting with offices. So in many ways. Right. So finally, a couple of things happened this week, but finally there was a wake up on SB 9, which
9 is what?
So it was basically supposed to be the teacher pay raise. It was not it really is not a teacher pay raise. It's a nod to a teacher pay raise, but it's not really. But it had hidden in it the removal of the State Board of Education being able to veto SBEC, State Board Education Certification. And there's been a problem with SBEC. As I, watched SBEC when they came before this past summer, and then watched them when they did new work groups. I mean, there's a problem. The decisions are not being made by elected officials. It's by appointed committee.
Yeah, and point out that Rex Gore, sorry to interrupt, but Rex Gore, who we had to deal with, he was the chair of the virtual ed committee. Rex Gore also serves on the SBEC committee, and this is a landscaping guy who's into social impact investing.
Yes. And again, every time we follow the money and we see who this governor appoints, and
rich jerks who don't know anything about education, but they're meddling, and they don't make good decisions, nor do they have the best interest of public school kids when their kids go to elite private schools and they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened is when we were there, not last week, but the week before, and we did dual. We did State Board of Education meetings, and then we covered the House and the Senate bills to testify and speak truth about what was happening in education. So we were covering 3 areas. It was a great week. However, in the State Board of Education, SBEC made the recommendation that the American Library Association would be adopted as part of the resources for teacher certification, which means that teachers can use the ALA for their teaching. Well, it's very clear that ALA has been behind, Ibram X. Kennedy, the CRT movement, the what you would say the drag queen library hour movement, this whole what we call some social distractions that are occurring in schools.
Right.
But it's clear that
those things aren't real. It's that those are that is drawing. It's sucking all the energy and it's drawing all the attention and focus to that. So it keeps us fighting the social wars and the culture wars while all of this other stuff is going on, and we're not talking about that. Okay.
Well, we're going to talk. We stay talking about it. So, but it's not that those are not important to us. But so there was this SBEC endorsement of the ALA, American Librarians Association. And clearly they're not in line with the values of Texas as a state, or our families, or what our public schools should be aligned with. And that's been a clear echoing message from everyone. Even there are, even many of the liberals do not want those books in the school. So it is fairly well a nonpartisan event. But at any rate, the State Board of Education vetoed SBEC. Okay. So they vetoed SBEC. Now then, prior to them vetoing SBEC, the chairman of the SBOE went to Creighton and to Lieutenant Dan and saw that in SB 9 there was language that if the bill was passed, it would remove the State Board of Education's right to veto um, anything that SBEC proposed. Now then,
Huge power grab, power shift.
Yeah, big power grab. And again, that's Morath driving that, because the State Board of Education voted 13-0 against the licensing certification test going to Pearson or an organization called EdTPA, them changing the way they're licensed to EdTPA, which we talked about before. There's no ethics component. It didn't even meet the RFQ, the request for purchase or request for bid, whatever you want to call it. It didn't even meet those requirements. So before this SBOE meeting, there was a conversation with the powers that be on the Senate side. Why is this language in here to remove the State Board of Education's right to veto SBEC, a committee, an appointed committee? So the lieutenant governor said no, he wasn't willing to take it out. So Creighton didn't take it out. So it stayed in the House, SB 9. It stayed in. It became engrossed. That means it, passed out of committee and it passed on the floor, party line votes. So these are Republicans voting to strip the authority of another elected body, the State Board of Education.
Which, look, we have to deal with this all the time, is that while we are conservative, it is the Republicans for decades who have been slowly chipping away at education, and the bad bills are coming from the right.
Well, and I'm going to say that they're
been in power.
Yeah, they're chipping away more than that. They're chipping away at the representative form of government in the constitutional republic, which is the most dangerous thing, aside from the fact that we're going to have a generation that knows nothing about it. But what happened, so it goes through SB 9, but there was a press release. Hey, look what the SBOE did. They really saved everybody's behind, because they killed American Librarian Association, the porn people, from being associated and getting to be a part of the licensure procedure for teachers. So, and that's one of the biggest things that was happening over under the Granite Dome, was to keep the pornography out of the schools and keep pornography out of children's hands. I mean, by the way, it's a federal violation. It's a penal code. So it's a felony federally to put porn in front of children, yet we're doing it in our schools. So that was kind of a cute little sideshow. And in their press release, this was a good thing they did, a super good thing that SBOE did. And they saved everybody's hide by them having the veto power over SBOE, over SBEC, excuse me. But yet we have a bill that's passing through the Senate that removes that veto power. So the veto power is the saving opportunity here, and yet they're going to strip it away in the very next action. So there's been a huge call to action, and in the House, the companion bill, or the identical bill, is House Bill 11. So House Bill 11 is the same as Senate Bill 9. And literally, we have worked the phones, and everybody we know, every little micro organization we know, as well as out in Tyler, the grassroots group in Tyler, even some other elected officials that we know have been working the phone. But the great thing and is William Lutz, who's an SREC member and who sat on the education platform for GOP. He sent out a message, and his message was really concise. Hey, this is wrong. Somehow this dirty thing slipped into the bill. And so I literally spent the weekend text messaging elected officials directly. We sent out a blast to every elected official in the House, as well as there were a lot of the teachers organizations working this as well. And so Cody Harris, I think, let's see, I'm not sure what his House district is, but Cody Harris, he's from East Texas, and he has more of a rural district, and he's a quiet man, but he's a man of character, and we wish he would use his bully pulpit a little bit more, but he
I'm always surprised, Mary, when we go to these hearings, not a peep. I mean, if I was up there on that dais, you couldn't keep us quiet. I would be so engaged in most discussions unless I don't know something and I
mean,
still
and
ask questions. I'm shocked that they don't talk more, especially the ones who know.
Yeah. But again, I think when you get to, I said to somebody the other day, I said, what's happening in the Senate is it's a little basketball team, and then what's happening over in the House, it's the full band, and it's the numbers are so different, and I think they all are playing a little bit of a chess game or poker game, and sometimes people.
Yeah, but I mean, like you see Gina Hinojosa, she's asking all kinds of questions. She's fully engaged. She runs circles around, and we may not agree with her on some of her votes, but she's doing the work, asking the questions, and with regard to education and some of these agendas behind the scenes, she's actually asking the question. So I just wish that we'd see a little bit more of that. But I see that on the city council too. The women are bigger topics. Ask all the questions, and I don't know if that's because we're closest to the children, and we are. I don't know the reason for that. Where are
I mean, to me, he's a man that seems to just hold his cards really close to his vest, and then he plays when he needs to play. And he definitely played. He showed up big. He stripped that language out of House Bill 11, and he made a floor amendment. It came out, so we saved the power of SBOE to veto SBEC's recommendations, and we thank Cody Harris. And then the list is super long of who all to thank, but Cody Harris is the one who stood up and did it. And there's no telling. I mean, he may take the ire of the governor. I don't know. But what we have now is we have that bill and the House that's been modified, and it's passed the House. So it is now engrossed on the House side. And we have SB 9, which now doesn't look anything like House Bill 11. So hopefully the Senate bill will die. Hopefully it's dead, because they can't really go back and change it without it being a point of order at this point, because it changes the bill too much. So it looks like that the House Bill 11 should become the law, but we'll have to watch it and follow up on that. But why are we telling you all this? So the other bills that we're working on right now, most egregiously in the House, because the House is where we have a chance to make the difference, is House Bill 1605, which is the same as Senate Bill 2565. They're identical. Now then, what we need to talk about today is how the constitutional republic is usurped and who's usurping it and what that looks like. And 1605 is a bill that it is a vendor bill. It's a vendor bill for Amplify. And in the first part of the bill, it says, hey, we're going to give the SBOE this power. And then it comes back and my husband would say, anytime you say something and then you say, but, he says, whatever you said before the but is irrelevant. So like if I say, I love you, but you didn't
just negated the fact that you love him.
That's right. So he says that whenever you use but, okay, so in this bill, it doesn't use but that's what it does. It says we're going to give SBOE power. We're going to put technology in here, and this technology is going to set a standard so that people have to abide by the standard, and it cures the problem of people violating CRT and SEL and all these things. And then it says, but we're going to give the commissioner more power, and his more power defeats whatever power we just said we were going to give to SBOE. And by the way, once this gets to the school districts, they can do whatever they want to with it. They don't have to use it the way it's written, because it's an open education resource. So this bill
regardless, they can say, oh, but the school districts don't have to, but they dangle the money carrot. So the school districts will, because that's how it works. And that's what we said during the testimony is that's not how it works, Buckley. How it works is the commissioner dangles the money and the school districts go, okay, whatever you want. We'll do whatever you want. We'll do it.
Yeah. So this bill was written by Mike Morath. And we're going to play you an audio. So Mike Morath has been the biggest
team of lobbyists. He has an arsenal of lobbyists.
Yeah, well, but before he was the lobbyist, and we know for a fact that he goes over to the Capitol all the time and tries to sell them on the things that he wants. So, and if he cannot get if he can't Delphi SBOE or enough of a SBOE to give him what he's asking for, then he just trots over to the Capitol and then he gets them to make it a law. So it again undermines that elected body.
We know he did that back when he was in Dallas. I know Jason Villalba. They got Jason Villalba and all these people and John Arnold. They were all writing the Dallas Home Rule Charter campaign, and then that turned into House Bill 1842. So they were all those Dallas boys. Okay, do you want me to play this video clip? You want me to split the screen now, or are you still talking?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so we're right now we're doing the State Board of Education meeting.
Right. So he knows now he's been caught lobbying. And so somebody somehow has heard our message and they've held him accountable for being over there lobbying. And he is noticeably absent from the Capitol this session.
Well, I don't miss him. I do not miss him.
I know you don't. I won't miss him even if he has to leave the state. So
yeah.
All right, let's listen to Kevin. The Morath has just finished speaking, and it's Wednesday, April 12th, and there's going to be a little Q&A.
Yeah. There's been a lot of discussion about the open education resources. And while I understand the focus does need to be on our foundational skills because we've got to get our kids reading and doing math at grade level. However, a big void in instructional materials has been with the health materials.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And is there any possibility that through the open education resources, we might be able to create something for districts to use? Because that's my biggest complaint from parents right now are the materials that are out there for health education and the fact that districts are buying things that were not approved by us.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know if there's any possibility.
I think it's a great point. So the OER investments that the agency makes are subject to appropriation. So in the General Appropriations Act, they typically say like, do this. So if appropriators, the legislature wanted to allocate funds for that kind of investment, then it's a act of the appropriators. So it's a great point. So I talk to members of the legislature.
Do you have any ability to talk to the legislatures and make them aware of this problem that we need money for health materials?
I get asked by members of the legislature all the time, so I'll certainly surface this in conversations that I have with them. But I'm a state employee and you're a free agent, so I would also encourage you to talk to members about your priorities.
Okay, thank you.
One quick question back to IBCs.
Okay, so what he just said to them is, I can't go and ask them for something. Now then, one of two things.
He's talking to them all the time.
Well, and this bill is his bill. He wrote this bill, and this bill was to cover his behind because he had already purchased Amplify. $50 million contract to Amplify. So it's a CYA. Now I'm going to make them mandate it so I don't get in trouble for the no bid contract that I did in fact do, that I've already tried to cover up. But, some pesky women have uncovered that I signed off on a document that said it was a no bid contract. So he's trying to cover his behind here, but he's also trying to set up for the governor, probably, now I said probably, the statewide curriculum that the World Economic Forum wants set in place in Texas, because Texas is the largest state. And once they do it in Texas, the rest of the states will fall in line to have a statewide curriculum. It takes it takes the skill needed to be a teacher away. It sets up the door for a classroom monitor, and it is disgusting, and it is not an effective way of teaching, and we have spoken ad nauseum about that. However,
well, but it's not, I mean, I'm not arguing with you, but in doing all the research that Allison McDowell and I have done on open education resources, it started in the military. It's situation. And so it's worse than the World Economic Forum. But yes, it does work in conjunction with all of that is being pushed by the World Economic Forum through automation and getting everyone on devices and moving us into the metaverse and setting up our digital twin. So it absolutely opens the door, open education resources and House Bill 1605 and Senate Bill 2565. This would open the door and lay the foundation. It's like a portal to get all of the kids on these open education resources, which the Department of Education website says. Not only does it say equity, and it also says would shift the resources, our money, our tax dollars, away from textbooks to technology devices. So it's clear. And you and I said that time and time again. We're sorry that Representative Buckley doesn't know this, even though his wife is a curriculum and a chief learning officer for Killeen ISD, which is a major military hub in Texas. Sorry that they don't know this, but that's exactly what it is. And he was hoodwinked by Morath, and you get to be the big boy because, you know, the powerful commissioner and all his, you know, posse, they give you a lot of attention when you do these bills and you carry these big daddy bills. And that is what we're trying to stop. And we're going to do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, we are going to do it. So, okay. So let's talk about this for a second. Because we can do another podcast and talk about the two bills, 2565, and then this particular bill. So,
no, you know, people, I don't know if they know this, but YouTube, you can fast forward, which you can put it on a higher speed so you can watch our things faster. And you can also do, if you click down below, you can click transcript and it will transcribe what we are saying. So if you're too busy to listen, you can scroll through and see the timestamps even. That's one way that AI is actually been
yeah, we cheated a little bit. We used a QR code on some things this session.
I do not endorse the QR code, but dang it, if it's not.
I'm so sorry.
Just don't QR code our people, our children.
No, we do not QR code our people. I was just say business applications are okay. Okay, so now then, what we have to talk about is
berries and bills. We can QR code
who is controlling and who is behind all of the oxygen in the room in the Capitol. And how is it that certain bills hijack everything else in the Capitol? And it's all about power and money. And Texas lawsuit reform, who is founded and led by Dick Weekly, took an interest in education, I believe 2.5 years ago, but over something personal that his daughter, over COVID and his daughter homeschooling out in California. And so, circle his picture there. And so,
I don't move as fast as you do. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So at any rate, we entered into conversation with Mr. Weekly in August.
I mean, I want to preface this. Yeah. Look, we had some really good conversations with him, and he's very accessible. He's not this billionaire who's like, now the first meeting was terrible because he had his
but let's save that for another time. We've been able to get some parents in touch with him. We've had some other parents reach out and tell him some stories and stuff. But at the end of the day, we went to him because we wanted him to know the truth of what was happening in education. And one of the truths that we exposed were all of the many laws that Mike Morath was violating. And we happened to learn that his number one man is Dennis. I'm not going to call him Dennis Calabrese, and that Dennis Calabrese is tight with Mike Morath and is always going to defend Mike Morath. So,
and Dennis told us he got him the job. Now, I always thought it was Todd Williams, but I guess, you know, if Dennis and if Todd Williams and John Arnold were working together to take over the school district in Dallas, then that's not a far stretch to bring.
Right. No, it was probably collective. So, but at any rate,
not getting him the job.
Totally not surprised that Dick came back and defended him. However, a little outraged that the number one driver after this man agreed that he was concerned about CRT and that he was concerned about quality education and he didn't like SEL, but the number one thing he said he was opposed to was diversity and equity. He was very opposed to the equity thing.
Right. And we
And
told him
then-
100 times. He's literally doing diversity, equity, and inclusion at the TEA. He's all the people he's hiring are from Teach for America, and they are change agents, including AJ Crable, who's helping take over Houston ISD. Like, it's an empty platitude. You can't say, I'm against all this CRT crap and DEI, and then you promote the same people who are bringing this in and using the exact language. I've tried to show Dick that Todd Williams, everything he does is about equity. That's how they use those words, those dog whistles. They use them to get people.
Not just Todd, but Mike Morath.
Absolutely. And I showed him Mike Morath literally started Leadership ISD. It used to be called Leadership Dallas ISD, and Leadership ISD is where all that equity crap is coming in Fort Worth and Richardson. Like, how much more do I need to show you? They directly
look at the name, look at the word above his head, leadership. I mean, no surprise here. So anyway, so here we are, and we want to keep this tight. So I'm going to move us on. So here we are. We have enormous amounts of confirmation of our communication with Mr. Weekly. We appreciate who he says he is. We are.
I believe him. I believe he sincerely is fighting these things. But here, you mentioned it. The smaller the number of the bill, the higher it gets on the stack. And it's who has the most power and influence and has the most expensive lobbyists who get their bills passed. That's why all this stuff you see, the Republicans are like, well, that's not in our party platform and that's not in our plank. So why aren't we? Because money talks. And at that level, it's both sides, but primarily in Texas, it is the conservatives. So if your bills don't, if the party issues don't make it to the top, whether it's, voter stuff or whatever, it doesn't matter. But what makes it to the top of the stack, if you look at like House Bill 3 and a couple of sessions back, Todd Williams wrote that one with Morath, and then they had all the lobbyists who pushed it through. And then there's Senate Bill 3, which I don't know if you want to talk about that one, which was.
Well, I mean, I don't want to talk about, I wanted to listen to Dick Weekly, but here's the thing. Senate Bill 3. How did it get Senate Bill 3? It was filed in a special session and it got to be number 3, which is absolutely crazy to me that it got that low number. But at any rate, here's the deal. Any form of representative government is destroyed when you have a man that for 30 years has been the controller of how people vote and what gets voted on by the money that they donate. And there were news media reports that talked about Tim Dunn being this way. Now, Tim Dunn was very much against abortion, and he's a Christian conservative. But to my knowledge, I have never known of Tim Dunn ever controlling or asking them to vote a certain way. It's expected that they be conservative. And if they're not conservative, then he'll just run somebody against them. So, which I would prefer that form of money being used to have an impact as opposed to somebody who goes there, who lobbies for bills. So Dick Weekly has partnered with TPPF and an education coalition that's full of people from the right and the left and people who've been very nefarious about data collection.
And that coalition is important because it's a coalition for excellence in education, and that is Texas 2036. It's the Texas Association of Business. It's the Commit Partnership. It's TPPF.
Well, and we published that in the last Tech Ed. So, but here's the other thing. So he's there, and the two bills that Dick Weekly pushed through and wanted to get passed as part of his agenda was 1605/2565, which is the Amplify bill that Mike Morath wrote. How do we know that? Because we asked the people who carried the bills, and they did not deny. They would have outright denied if it had not have been Mike Morath's bill, and if it had not have been.
That's right. They would have said it from the dais. They would have said, no, this isn't a vendor bill. They never denied it, and that told me exactly what we needed.
They do. So, and then the other thing is SB8. SB8 was his bill, and Creighton has carried both of these bills. In the House, Buckley did not carry the school choice, the voucher bill.
Morath's bill, SB8 and the bill 1605. I mean,
but he did carry Mike Morath's bill, and there's no excuse. And I hope we get to a point where people say, I am not going to vote for this person because they took money from Dick Weekly. But I want you to hear from the horse's mouth a conversation that I'm not completely proud of because I did lose my temper with him. But I want you to hear him taking credit for SB3. He is not elected. He's not appointed yet. He takes credit for that. And when we ask him, there needs to be teeth. There needs to be a consequence to this bill. It didn't change anything. They run around saying we did blah, blah, blah. They didn't change anything. They don't change it on purpose because the commissioner wants to be able to continue to do that now. And so do a lot of the governor's donors. And what I'm going to say to you is it is past time that we use our wisdom to outfox the fox.
Well, and I'm going to give a disclaimer here because, Texas is a one-party state with recording, and I recorded this because I was in the car and you were talking, and I thought, you know what,
well, you didn't have any idea I was going to scream at him.
No, I didn't know that, but I knew it was an important conversation, and things had started to get really heated, so I hit record. And he
emailed me. I called him because he emailed me and said, what do we need to do to this bill so that you'll be for it? And that was the Amplify bill. What do we need to do so that you'll be for the Amplify bill? And honestly, I mean, we're not going to release the entire conversation today. We just want you to hear about the SB3. We want you to know who is driving these bills and who, whenever somebody
works. This is how it goes down. And this is why we're in this mess that we're in, is because for so long, it's not the will of the people. It is the will of the special interests and the billionaires. And this is the way it goes down. And they call each other at night and they're like, hey, you got to get these people to do this. And then you got to, and we understand, I mean, we have to do a lot of this, calling people stuff, but the way we operate is above board. We tell people what we're doing. We don't have these backdoor private meetings. This is all, I mean, the way our government was set up to work is not how it's working. Here we go.
Well, I mean, no, absolutely not. So you need to hear this, and then you need to go and look, and you need to tell your you need to see who donated, who all this guy donated to, and then how they vote. And we will publish that at the end of the session so you can see. But right here and right now,
there's a ton of them. I mean, you got Julie Pickering, you got Donna Campbell, you got Angela Paxton. I mean, there's
don't name names till session's over. Let's see how they.
Okay.
I know.
I'm just saying, like, he's donated to a ton of them, so it's hard to distinguish who he's controlling or not because he's donated to a lot. Okay.
Well, I mean, and that's why these bills are hard. Bad bills are hard to defeat because he donates to a lot, and he has a lot of bad bills. So.
Yeah, so they may not be in his pocket, but he's donated to so many that it's a lot. Okay, here we go.
I said, Steve, I'll give you all the support you need. All the support you need. He said, no. I said, I'll do it. We're going to do it. So I'm the one who pushed Steve Toth, who's going to do nothing. And the one who got the people to go talk to the governor, to the governor speaker and all the committee chairman, all this kind of crap, and spent 2.5 years of my life, and then went to the special session. As the governor put on a special session, which he did, we banned it not from 9 through 12, but K through 12, not from social studies, but policy, all of the subject matters. And Patrick called me at 11 o'clock at night, 4 days before he passed. He said, Weekly, you got to get in there again because they're about to blow it up. So I had to get everybody together again. And we're TPPF, and I got Hardy, the SBOE, and I got someone from the State Republican Committee. We had a big meeting, and then we finally passed. So look, there's no one in the state of Texas that's worked harder to ban the stuff that you and I hate than me. There's no one that's worked harder.
Came in through the back door with SEL. Comes in through technology. CRT, it's an empty platitude. Don't get rid of the technology.
Sorry, I had it on mute, or she had her phone on mute, and I was running my mouth while I'm recording on my phone. So he can't hear me griping about that.
Correct. Yes, correct.
But
I'm
the
just,
point
and I'm
is,
pretty.
I never was impressed with the anti-CRT bill. It's not that I want the kids learning critical race theory. It's not that I'm a proponent of that. It's that I knew the bill was an empty platitude because it came in through the back door through technology, one, which will come in through Amplify. We found it. Two, it comes in through social emotional learning, which is the shift away from academics into behavioral and feelings and attitudes and beliefs and behaviors. So, oh, yay, you big dog, you get your CRT bill, your anti-CRT bill passed, get to the top of the list. He's got Dan Patrick calling him 11 o'clock at night, but it's all an empty platitude because it's coming. He doesn't understand how the system works because he won't listen to people like us telling him, no, here's how it's really going down. This is what the kids are really learning. Do you have children in this system? No. Well, I did. And I just got my last one out last May. So I know what we're talking about.
Okay.
You and I are dealing with grievances and people in the trenches. Anyway, you want me to keep playing?
Yeah, keep playing.
That should be passed, but then we have
That's
to go.
where CRT comes in my district.
Three, which by the
And I
way,
appreciate your
you never have
efforts.
to ban 3979, SB3 overrode 3979 or 37, 3970.
Compliment. I love you.
3937, I think is what it is. You said we have to get rid of it. It's already got rid of. SB 8 or whatever the hell it was, the special session overrode it, so it's no longer effective. So you don't have to go back.
So, Dick,
It's already done.
thank you. I love that you work so hard and that you are so dedicated to this and that you have the passion to do this. And SB3, one of the great frustrations that we have with what happens in Austin is that, and I would hope that you would resonate with this because, you don't like, I don't want my parents to have to be put in a position in order to have SB3 mean something, to have to sue. And because that bill didn't have a consequence in it, we still have CRT. But the other thing that
We need a consequence. We need a consequence.
well, but yes, we do need a consequence. But the other thing is CRT is still in our schools because it came through the back door with SEL, social emotional learning, which is
So we need
SB.
to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Get rid of that.
Well, I mean, have you not? I mean, we've sent it to you.
He says we need to get rid of it. We've sent him all the evidence that it's literally coming in through Morath, and he's a proponent of it. And he has been talking about it for years. Yet it will not compute that the man that he thinks is so great that's running the TEA, you see, and he's like, well, I mean, unless he's lying to me, I'm like, ding, 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 ding. We told the legislature he's duplicitous. He says whatever he needs to say. Morath does.
Well, and the other thing is, if he's really interested and he wants to support a representative form of government, then he needs to hear, and we do say later on in the conversation, Dick, I mean, I literally said, you live in a bubble. You really don't understand what it's like out there. So we did say that, and we will release that later.
And you know what he said? He says he's like, well, we hire lobbyists, but we send regular people. Like he named a couple of names that he sends to the legislature, but then we know that he's got people. He has really high powered lobbyists who.
Well, he hired Moat Casey, and Moat Casey is pro all the LGBTQ, pro the books, pro CRT, pro equity. So why do you go to
he's against? He's literally hiring the people who, yeah. And Moat Casey, that's Dan Huberty and Leo Lopez from the TEA who left there. And then you've also got Leo Lindbeck. I don't know who he is.
Yeah, well, Leo Lindbeck is a builder in Houston who just helps fund all this stuff. He's not a lobbyist. Now he has shown up.
He's a regular person that supposedly shows up.
Yeah.
But does Leo know all this stuff? That, I mean, they're not listening to the mothers who are saying and the parents who are saying, here's what's really happening.
Well, and not only that, why aren't they going to the State Board of Education members? I mean, the State Board of Education members have a good handle on the
Well, they
pulse,
do. They
even
go
though
to
disagree.
Julie Pickering. They go to Julie.
No, that he started doing. He put Julie in there, so that's not going to a State Board of Education. Where he's going to his control.
Right. She's writing opinion pieces for Dallas Express saying that Amplify bill is good. That this OER crap is good. Okay, but he also has Mike Toomey, who's a super lobbyist who Abbott brought in to do that, to do the contact tracing, or not the contact tracing, but the to open Texas, the strike force. And these people did not open Texas. They didn't do what they should have done and in the lockdown. So you got these people, and Toomey was involved in the Gardasil vaccine with Rick Perry. So we're talking decades worth of people, decades of people manipulating what's happening at the legislature, and the average citizen has no idea. The grassroots shows up, they try and do all these things, and then they realize, oh, well, my voice and my vote and my efforts mean nothing if you've got billionaires who have direct access to the politicians. And that's how you get the bills bumped up, not because it's what the people want.
Right. I mean, the governor isn't even listening to what the people want. And he'll default back to some poll, but then if you look at the poll was written in such a manner that it didn't give you an opportunity to elicit a clear one way or no. It bundled things together. So were you for it or against it? It was
well, and the billionaires, I mean, people like Dick Weekly, they fund Abbott. That's why Abbott's coffers are so big. That's why he is as powerful as he is, because they get to go quail hunting or whatever they do, shoot skeet. I don't know what they do, but they get to have access to him. We'll have a drink with him.
Yeah,
or they
that's
can
kind of funny.
they can text him at night, hey, governor. No,
I know they can call him. He answers their phone call. Okay, so let's wrap up. Let's wrap up. So okay, so look, this ought to make everybody mad, because when you vote, you may get your guy in office, but after you get your guy in office, they're being controlled by Dick Weekly. And if Dick Weekly doesn't control them, if they're in the Senate, then Lieutenant Dan is going to control those Republicans. And how dare you go against what the lieutenant wants? And then there's the governor, who you clearly get that Dick Weekly on numerous occasions has been able to call the governor and say, this is what I want. And then, oh, Lord, it happens. So you need to be angry that you are losing.
You need to yell.
Oh, I did yell. Yeah. Sorry. Somebody said, what? I said, no, it's better if I sit instead of stand. When I stand, I yell. So here I am sitting and yelling. That's trouble for tomorrow night in that debate. Okay. So, thanks for my distraction, Lynn. So, but you should be angry, and you should stand up, and you should hold your elected official to represent your voice and not do the will of one or two or three men who have formed some huge financial coalition so that they can get what they want done because they have the largest carrot. I was being nice there. And then the other thing is that you absolutely have got to get on the phone right now, and you've got to share this audio over and over and over again. And you have to get on the phone, and you have to take your power and your voice back by not letting the bills that he's pushing through get through. So you want to make sure that House Bill 1605 is killed.
Yeah, and we're picking on Dick because this is the one that's been going on the longest, and the name comes up the most, but there are others. And I know when I was talking to my friend about the charter bills and things, it's not just him. There are plenty of others. But when we're talking about education, Morath, and the state board and the curriculum, Weekly seems to be the one that comes up the most. We know that John Arnold was kind of in the shadows on some of these things and pushing the board.
Well, I think Weekly does John Arnold's work for him.
They're both in cahoots, and I have no idea if they're in cahoots or not. But Arnold's on the list.
And again, we went to this man privately for several months, trying to get him to read the information that we were sending him and to absorb the information that we were sending him. And
we go directly to them. We have the courage to go directly to people. We say to them exactly what we say to their faces, what we would say behind their backs.
Yes. And I think at the end of the day, you have to understand that that their power and their ability to work together and to get things done is it. And so even if Dick is sincere that he's against all these things,
I believe he's sincere. about that.
Yeah, but what became more important is to be the hero for the governor and the lieutenant governor. So the next time he wants something, they will do what he wants, regardless of what it's what the governor believes in. It is about the power and
Right, 'cause once you have the money, you've already got the money. So really, then it becomes power. I was watching that show with
Right.
Kevin Spacey, and there's a great quote from Frank Underwood's character, and he says, you know, money is like the oh shit, I'm gonna butcher it, but it's like the McMansion in Sarasota, and then power is
Yeah.
like the old institution, these buildings that have been standing, like, you know, ruins that have been standing for centuries. So meaning they once they get the money, it's like, oh, forget that. That's just a cheap McMansion. I want the power. That's where it's at.
Right.
That belongs.
Right.
in-
Well, and I always laugh, you know, it's the men's club. I mean, it is the men's club.
It is an
I you
absolute
know,
boys club. Absolutely. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it because they do not make good decisions for children. They are not the ones who are the closest to the children. They make terrible decisions. They try and turn education into a business, and you're not dealing with, you know, widgets and machines and, you know, even produce. These are people. We're talking about children, human beings. It's
so okay, so keep up with us and join us, because we need more people to come forward and testify. We need more people to organize letter writing change and things like that. So it's families engaged.
We have
.org.
familiesengaged.org. Sorry to interrupt. We have other audios that we've got that are going to be important as this voucher thing pushes through. So stay tuned for that, because we released that Leschelo audio, and that was important for people to understand what the TEA was up to. We've got others coming up, so stay tuned.
Yeah, and I don't know, is it legal? Just on this final note, stay tuned. But is it legal for? Yeah, I guess it is legal. All right, I'll leave it at that.
What we're doing is totally legal, but what they're doing,
I
is
know
not.
what we're doing is legal. I'm just wondering if what Dick Weekly is doing is legal. I mean, he's a political action committee, and they formed numerous. So in that vein, is it legal for the political action committees to I mean, at what point can they not pay lobbyists? I mean, I've been told there were more lobbyists in Austin, paid lobbyists this time in Austin than ever before, and that on the voucher that there were over 90 lobbyists working on that. And on this bill in particular, AT&T likes it because it causes, they'll get a contract from the government if this gets put through, and the contract from the government will be to put broadband in every rural area, and that's a different show. Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you. Bye, y'all. Hold on.